And we're live. Welcome back to another episode of these crazy people that just eat meat and can't stop talking about it. It's Justin, all out life carnivore, and Tom, otherwise known as
known as Tom,
known as Thomas A. Clark. What are we talking about today, Justin?
Hey, welcome back to a new Sunday night. I was like, what day is it? Sunday night edition of the Meat Mosaic featuring me, Justin, and him, Tom. Please make sure you like the channel, subscribe, leave us comments, hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're notified. Make sure you're feeling fly. So RIP to my hair. The hair is gone. For those people that can see. I guess if you're deaf, this will be closed captioned. My hair is gone in closed captions. So there you go. So yeah, the hair is gone. It was just becoming a pain, really. It was just, you have a fantasy of long hair, or at least I did, because I've had it before. And you have a fantasy of long hair. You just think it's just going to be, you're just going to look cool. And there's not going to be anything to it. It's going to be like no trouble at all. No, that's completely wrong. It's a lot of trouble. It's always in the way. A windy day, forget about it. Cold days, forget about it, because my hair's pretty thick, so it would take forever to dry. So the hair was a pain. It wasn't that like, oh, carnivores make me go bald or anything like that, or like I was losing clumps of hair due to carnivore or anything crazy like that. No, just legitimately woke up and was like, I've got more important things to do than mess with this hair all the time. It's quite distracting. And so I chopped it off.
Well, let me throw a question out to the folks. I know Miss Patricia's here, Sly's here, Margie's here. Do you think anybody thinks about Justin's hair as much as Justin does? That's my question.
Hi, Sly. Hi, Margie. They missed a spot. So you're saying I should have gone like full military bald? Is that what you're saying, Sly?
I don't know. She typed, I think you pissed a piece.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure what piece I pissed.
She's typing some crypto message. Gonna have to get the code breakers on it. That or she's having a I can't spell day like me.
Yeah, that's every day for you, Tom.
I typed hello 3 times and I couldn't get it right.
Missed a spot. Okay. Well, I don't know what I exactly missed, but hey, what can I say? You go to a cheap barber, you get cheap results. I don't know what else to say to it.
Sly's got COVID brain.
Ah, got it. Is that recovering or you currently have COVID? And is it your first time, second time, third time, or fourth time having COVID?
Right? Yeah, I know somebody's already had it 3 times.
Right? There's a couple of people.
Didn't even know you had it the first time. There you go. Raymond, you don't seem like the kind of guy who uses a Flowbee. As I recall, you had long hair. But I think Flowbee would be perfect for Justin.
What's Flowbee? No,
oh my God, he's so young he doesn't know what a Flowbee is.
I don't.
It's like a vacuum cleaner attachment with clippers built into it, and you just suck your hair in and it turns it off.
Is that like the one from Wayne's World? Or were they making?
I don't know. It was a regular, like TV commercial for a product you could order.
I imagine it was quickly recalled. That only sounds like it upset a lot of people.
Yeah. So like my friend Rich, he was notorious for cutting his hair and his kid's hair with a Flowbee. This is drive his wife crazy.
Did it come out good?
It looked fine to me. Rich still has a fine head of hair last I saw him.
All right. There you go. Oh, second time. Yeah, see, I got it once last year. I know a bunch of people, this is their first time, though, which is also kind of interesting. Um, but hard to say since, like, we didn't really have testing until what, June of 2020 or so. And I'm under a great suspicion that I also had it in November of 2019, but
I
can
knew a
never
number
prove
of
it.
people that were really sick before the whole COVID thing was known, and they're like, man, I got this terrible like chest cold and it just kicked my ass. And then the COVID thing, we're like, oh, I wonder if you had COVID. And then, when you were here, remember the 4th of July you were here? Or were
Yeah.
you here more than the first 4th of July we were hanging out and we were over visiting my friends on the other street. And then Rob came down with COVID that weekend, that night. You remember that?
Right.
So Aaron had blood work done like a few months before, and he's like, you know what? They asked me if I wanted a COVID test with my blood work, and he'd paid extra for it and everything, but he didn't even know what the test result was. So they called Monday, and they're like, yeah, you tested positive for COVID-19 antibodies. So he had COVID before then and didn't know it.
Right.
And then he got it 2 more times.
I may have gotten it my second time this past or 2022 July or June or whatever that was. Yeah. But that felt crazy just because the exhaustion. I don't think I'll ever forget the exhaustion I felt for it. That was very different. Other than that, just felt like a sinus infection.
Yeah, when I got the sore throat.
Right. You had a sore throat from hell.
Yeah, it was pretty bad sore throat for like 2 or 3 days. It just, oh my God. Of course, by the time I got any medication, it was gone. So I was like, oh, hey, thanks for shipping me these great COVID drugs. I don't think I need them now. So, anyways.
Anyway.
Yeah, my buddy at work got sick on Thursday. She was a mess. She COVID tested and came up negatory, but she's had like some nasty flu.
Oh yeah, they're still around.
Yep, there's still other germs apparently. COVID ain't the only germ left.
And for those watching The Last of Us, watch out for those fungi. It's a new show. It's a drama based on a video game. It's really good. It's on HBO Max.
What's it called?
The Last of Us.
Oh, that's what it's called.
Yeah,
I saw commercials for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'd really like it.
It's on Showtime?
No, it's on HBO Max.
Oh, that's cool because I think I have the login for my friend Justin's HBO Max. So
yeah, you should.
I can watch it and be cool like him.
Yeah. I didn't quite care for the last episode, but it's okay. We'll keep chugging along at it. It's okay. Yeah. But I kind of like that it's like anti-plant. Well, it is because like a fungus is like infecting people or whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, oh, that's right. We were watching some other series, The Kingdom. It's a Korean drama. And there's like this clinic and they covet meat, like, because they haven't had meat in like 3 weeks. So it's like the first time they've had meat and they're like all super excited to eat meat, and the show does take place in like, I don't know, 1400 or something like that. So if you watch these different shows, especially like not old Asian, but time period pieces that take place in Asia, meat is like really coveted. And I think that's like other cultures too.
So is cattle rustling a thing?
Very much so. I don't know.
All right. Well, so we get on topic?
Of course not. What are you talking about?
Since we're done talking about haircuts and TV shows.
Are we?
Are we? We can work it in.
Yeah, I suppose so. So Adaptation.
Adaptation.
Not to be confused with the Nick Cage movie Adaptation.
Not to be confused with. I don't even remember the plot to that one. So
That's the one where Nick Cage is having like the psychotic breakdown where he's writing the script or whatever, but he's like really bad at it, or he thinks he's really bad at it. And he projects a twin brother who's like a really good script writer, or it really is his twin brother. I can't remember. Sly knows the movie.
yeah, I know I've seen it. In
Right.
fact, I remember talking to you about it. It's just haven't thought about it in a while. So we're
Yeah.
not actually talking about that. So
Hmm.
I'll kick it off because when for me the introduction to was learning about keto, essentially low carb, fat, replacing carbohydrates with fat, and there's this concept of shifting from carbohydrate as a primary fuel to fat as a fuel, and people go through an adaptation period, and some people get the keto flu, which is also referred to as a carnivore flu now. So I think that's most people's sort of general sort of association with a dietary adaptation, right?
Yeah, I think so. Keto flu is quite the buzzword, I suppose you could label it, or buzz phrase. It's more than a word, I suppose.
Well, how many times have we seen it come up or been asked, hey, did you get carnivore flu? You know?
Yeah, I mean, a few times are people, yeah, asking about that, and it just comes down to drastically, well, it seems to come down to drastically changing your diet, depending on what you ate before,
Right.
depending on how compliant you are with the diet, quote unquote diet. Um, so there's a variety of factors. If you're eating enough, if you're having in some salt, if you're exercising, um, that's another good word for it. Processed food slash sugar withdrawal. Yeah,
Well, both is what's going on. I mean, my point is there's a lot of things going on, right? It's not just being able to digest and absorb and utilize fat, in our case, animal fat, but it's also, the withdrawal from the carbohydrate, right?
right. And sugars, soda, the insulin spikes. Um, yeah, I think all that together. Uh, I mean, the processed foods are addictive, but even you can have, I think, a withdrawal or a reaction from fruit and honey, from fructose, right? Um, so, yeah, number of different things. It's just the body recalibrating because the body is always going to try and shoot for homeostasis, right? And it's going to do what it's designed to do, whether no matter how you feel about it, basically.
Yeah, it's always trying to keep its processes within a range, right?
Mhm. Right,
So everything is about adaptation. When you lift weights and grow muscles, that's adaptation. When you go out in the sun and start tanning, that's adaptation, right?
right,
So, and I think people kind of their thinking has been so shaped by a lot of the early writings on particularly ketogenic diets that they don't realize that there's a lot going on, right? I mean, we know when you cut down carbohydrates, you tend to retain less water and thus less sodium, right?
right,
For primarily for kidney function. So that's part of the adaptation, right?
right.
And then also when people stop taking in things, I mean, people talk about oxalates to the point where I'm a little concerned that oxalate actually winds up being the villain when it's not. Not that it's good to eat a bunch of oxalates, but I think people stop looking for the real mechanism because they just go, "Well, it must be oxalates, right?"
Right.
but so that's another thing. So when you stop taking in excessive amounts of oxalates, then the body starts trying to get rid of the oxalates, and I've definitely heard it conflated with causing kidney stones, because people are like, all of a sudden I had a kidney stone and it hurt like hell. And it's like, well, the kidney stone's been growing there for a long time and now you're getting rid of it, you know?
Mm.
Just like, people, oh, I tried carnivore for a year and I had a heart attack, and, my left artery was all blocked up. And it's like, well, that was building there for years, right?
Right.
And it finally got blocked. That didn't happen in a year from switching from plant-based to animal-based. So anyways, long story short, I got into some conversations a couple times over the past week or two with different people about adaptation. And I like to point out that there was a study done with professional athletes, I believe it was cyclists, and they
Mm.
were on a ketogenic diet, and they were being studied to see what happens. And even 2 years after the theoretical adaptation to fat, they were still seeing epigenetic changes, right?
Right.
And there's always this question of, well, most people in in a certain number of weeks are fat adapted. Why isn't it working for me, or why isn't it working for someone else? And some of the things I've come across, that seem to be patterns, is that, age has something to do with it. Activity level has something to do with it. How many times you've yo-yo dieted in the past has something to do with it. So if you're a relatively sedentary person that's not very active, this seems to be a slower process, right? And we can just sort of conjecture that what's going on is that since there's less activity and less processes, less intake and less uh, output, that the adaptation does seem to take longer. And the older people are, I mean, let's just say you've been on the wrong diet longer, right? So
Right.
there's all the other things that go along with aging, which is largely DNA is being replicated less effectively, right? There's more
Mm.
mistakes, there's more slow cells or malfunctioning cells, all the way down to the mitochondria, right?
Right.
Which inhabit the cells. You have more and more mitochondria that are used to being fueled with carbohydrates, right?
Right.
And because of that, there's been more damage from reactive oxygen species, right?
Right.
So all that being said, I'm always kind of shocked when everybody is surprised that they don't have the results we hear of when we hear something that sounds miraculous. Everybody's like expected a miracle. Hey,
Right.
2 weeks from now, I'm going to be leaner and meaner and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it can take longer for sure.
Mm.
And we're not all the same. We're all not going to adapt in identical ways, right? And that's everything from genes to past history to activity level, age, yo-yo,
Sunlight, sun exposure,
sunlight.
environment, where you are in the world, what time of the year you start the carnivore diet, what time you eat, what time you go to bed. If you're working third shift, you might have a little more of a struggle. Even religious belief, possibly.
So I've noticed it doesn't work for everybody to just start eating ribeye 1, 2, 3 times a day. That's usually the story we hear, right? That doesn't work for everybody, right? Some people need to ease into it.
Well, I think we need to have parameters for working, just because depends on what they're trying to heal. I think 3 ribeyes a day is awesome on average, um, but if you're, I don't know, sedentary, uh, I think that might impede losing some quote unquote unnecessary body fat. So I don't know. I just try to bring it always back to goals, you know. Um, and where you're starting from. Now, if you're underweight and you eat 3 ribeyes a day, that probably will help get you closer to where you need to go.
Well, my point was that some people are it's never gonna work to eat once a day. It's never
Right.
gonna work to eat twice a day. It's never gonna work to eat 3 times a day, especially if they're new to it. Maybe down the road. Some people just cannot absorb the nutrients. Any large amount or bolus of protein and fat is not going to be readily absorbed, and it's going to take them longer to be able to digest that and start absorbing the nutrients, right?
Right.
So some people need to feed more frequently in smaller amounts. Same thing, you see people that apparently are their electrolytes are out of balance, or let's just assume that their salts are low. And imagine that you cut out carbohydrates and you're eliminating excess sodium and stuff like that. Some of the stuff seems to just go right through them, right?
Mm.
They could buy the most expensive electrolyte supplements out there and be drinking a measured amount of water, and it's not working. And the thing is, I think what seems to help, at least the people I've dealt with, is that they need those things in smaller, more frequent doses so that they can absorb them. Otherwise, it just goes through them, right? Same thing with the meat. It's like they're used to eating something else. It's almost impossible to predict how long it takes just the gut biome or all the microbes that are in the digestive tract to adjust, because who knows exactly what condition they were in, you know?
Right.
So for your digestive tract to repopulate with the things that are adjusted to what you're eating now, you know, it's kind of anybody's guess. We just hear about the average, or we hear about the miracles. You know, it's like M lost 100 pounds in less than a year. You know, it went from somebody could barely walk and barely function to 180 degrees. You know, just kicking ass and taking names, right? And that's a miracle for that to happen. That's not the average. That's not the standard, right?
Right.
And then, you know, you see the people ask these questions in a Facebook group, and there's 20 people that go, oh, you know, this isn't a weight loss diet, or this, you did it all wrong, or you got to do this, you got to do that. And there's 20 different opinions.
You got to add in Coke Zero.
Coke Zero, right? So, yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, some people have problems with, what's the Coke sweetener called? Ace.
Oh, just had it too. Someone in the chat will throw it up.
Yeah. So some people do fine with aspartame or xylitol or erythritol or whatever. Some people, it's a disaster, right?
Right.
So
not to mention medications, and there are some medications, and I think us as a group could do a lot better at identifying and asking people. Aspartame, there you go.
Yeah, I was thinking of the other one. What's the other one? It's Ace.
Aciflem or whatever it's called. Yeah, I can't pronounce it even on a good day. But asking people, now I know it's private information, but what medications they're taking, or if they're taking any medications, because there are direct medications that are contraindicated for a state of ketosis. So that's something I wish us as a people or whatever would be better about, is identifying medications, because I don't know, something like 60% of the nation's on some kind of medication, I think. And that can even be stuff like birth control, which a lot of people don't consider a medication. But
so I looked it up. That thing is called acefulamine.
Acefulamine
potassium, or known as Ace K.
I understood it, Sly. It's all good. We're all friends of the not spelling and grammar.
Well, aspartame is in there too. So aspartame and asfolamine are two different sweeteners, and they're both in Coke Zero.
Right.
Just as so, and one of those somebody does fine with, and one of them somebody else doesn't. Right. And we hear this all the time. And sure, it's fine at Danny to tell everybody to not, use artificial sweeteners, but that's not going to stop people from using artificial sweeteners, right?
Right. Yeah. And even the so-called natural ones, stevia, monk fruit, xylitol, erythritol, coconut sugar, whatever.
Yeah. People are going to use them, especially when they come from keto, where that stuff is rampant.
Have an almond flour chocolate chip monk fruit cookie. There you go. So if you're eating those, yeah, you're probably going to have a hard time
You're
as well.
probably going to get people telling you you're not carnivores.
That as well.
You're going to get carnivore shamed.
Right. Yeah. So,
Carnivore canceled.
carnivore canceled. Oh, that's funny. That's a good one. I like that.
Don't
Oh,
get carnivore canceled.
I guess Salad Dinosaur has been carnivore canceled, I suppose. If anyone has, it's been him.
Right?
Right. Anyway, yeah, so there's so many different paths here, and that's why it's good to work with somebody, right? Someone that's treated what you're trying to treat, or someone that kind of at least knows what they're talking about. I don't know. The more it kind of like there's carnivore bro science now, right? Where it's like you've got to up your salt, fast for 32 hours, and eat a ribeye.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Like, I'm starting to see things in these groups that I'm like, where is this even coming from? I was like, who's advocating for that? Like, someone said, and maybe it was true for them, but that like eating too much fat makes it to where you want to eat more. And it's like, that is completely
Really?
contrary. Yeah. Someone was like, oh, if you eat a bunch of fat, it just makes you want to eat more. It messes with your metabolism. Or, yeah, it was like,
Well, it
have
might have
you,
happened to somebody out there.
right. But that's way out of left field, And then they started talking about calories, and at that point, I just ignored them. So there you go. Yeah. Oh, and make your favorite, or maybe our favorite, eating enough, right? I think we always seem to identify people as like eat more.
Well, there's a lot that just goes into, I think, first of all, I think my personal approach is, what's your quality of life like? Is your quality of life getting better? Right.
Mhm.
So, how do you feel? Because you change your diet and you feel like crap, and then you're like, oh, I wanted to lose weight and I didn't lose any weight. But wait a minute, do you feel like crap, or are you feeling better? Because if you're feeling better, you're probably on the right track. If you feel like crap, you're probably not, right?
Right.
And of course, you don't know. I mean, especially random people, you don't know whose advice they're taking. And some people do really well, high fat in the beginning. They, especially mentally, they feel better, and they tend to have more energy. But then, as we've seen many times, people don't seem to be eating enough. And that's, for me, I notice, like, if I eat too much fat, then I won't eat enough protein. So
Right.
then I won't meet my goals.
Right.
Right.
And I think people get confused between um, advice or people saying quote unquote how to do the diet versus little little hacks, right, for this subgroup or this or that other, like fat if you're still hungry, things like that. Is like, well, eat some fat because it won't bump your insulin, you know um, and then they get into like fat fasting, which I know, Sly, you're a big fan of fat fasting. I see your posts. It's really great. I It's not something I've really dabbled with. I don't think Tom's ever dabbled with fat fasting. I think it's way too contrary to what Tom tries to work on or anything.
Yeah, it goes back to what you said. It depends on your goals, right?
Right.
And that's, I mean, fasting is a powerful lever, right?
Right.
But I think it gets sold as a lifestyle too much,
Right.
right? Like, so, and a lot of that's just, it's being taken out of context. You get good results with it, and then you think you're just going to keep doing it, and everything's going to be hunky dory. But people tend to run out of that wiggle room with fasting eventually. So,
And age. So like older people need more protein because they're going to have a harder time absorbing it in the first place.
And a lot of them have been not eating enough protein for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard for them to start eating more protein and just absorb it all, right?
Right.
So they kind of got to work up to it.
Yeah, and so it's just about developing habits. When I think someone's starting out, I just want them to get used to eating more meat. Pretty much is like just get used to saying no to other things, get used to ignoring other people and other foods, and try your best just to incorporate more and more meat, And in the beginning, that can be fish, pork, lamb, beef,
Yeah,
eggs.
if anything, the best thing to do is go out and try different meat, like
Right.
see how you feel, see what you enjoy, because at the end of the day, it comes down to what we can afford too. It's not just, but generally you can find something that you feel good eating that, checks all the boxes for you, as it were, without breaking the bank.
Yeah. There's always a cheaper option. It's just your prep and cooking time and how to prepare it, you know,
Or just eat it raw.
or just eat it raw. Just take it right off there, eat it raw. There you go.
All right. So, do we have anything else to throw in about adaptation? I mean, let's just say that when it comes to fat to protein ratio, it's not the same for everybody. Don't expect it to stay the same for you the whole time. It seems like typically people do a little better high fat in the beginning and taper off. And let's be honest, when people say high fat or high protein, 9 times out of 10, they're not talking about the same ratio or same quantity or anything like that. So the same thing when you go look at the studies that people have done, it'll say, low carb, and it was 200 or 300 grams of carbohydrates a day. It's like, how is that low carb to us? It doesn't make any sense, right?
Right.
Yeah. So the language often isn't specific enough to really figure out what it is that you're trying to do, because you hear somebody say high fat, then somebody else gives you a different version of what high fat means, and you're no longer on the same page. It doesn't matter, and you don't even know.
Yeah.
So,
And, the differences could be that of like 10 grams. No, not terrible advice.
yeah, but see, that's the thing. Let's see, eat meat, fat till full, repeat until you find your path. Well, see, if I eat too much fat up front, then I don't eat enough protein. So the kind of wouldn't work for me. So
Maybe slice meaning eat meat and fat till full.
maybe hard to say. I'm sure
Hard to
she'll
say.
clarify. She always clarifies.
Thank you, Sly.
Yeah.
But again, adapting socially too, right? And adapting mentally, adapting your energy, and really kind of noticing it, because I think people do get better, but they don't realize it until they eat something off plan or a processed food, and then they're like, oh man, that pain came back, or I don't feel as like sharp today, you know. So I think journaling can be an excellent adjunct practice to starting a keto, low carb, carnivore diet.
Oh yeah, dude, we kept a lot of records at the beginning. I know I did. I'm pretty sure you did too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, you're curious. It's like, especially coming from keto, you're used to tracking blood glucose and ketones and all that stuff, and you're just curious what happens. What's going on. And of course, Sean used to have something. So, which one of those numbers says you're healthy or you're doing it right? He's like, I don't understand. I'm like, no, man, I just love the data. Just give me more data. And I never really found much of the data, did I?
No.
But keeping track, at least you can go back and go, oh yeah, this worked better than that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's like you said, it's about how close you get to meeting your goals, and how I always say it's how you feel, right?
Right.
So
Hey, were you able to come up the stairs without huffing and puffing? Maybe just a little less. Maybe it was all huff and no puff. I don't know. Uh, those are all like little wins, and so it's just important to notice those little things because I don't know if I've ever seen anyone really commit to this and not have some kind of positive outcome. You know.
yeah, and that's the thing, because some things just take more time, right?
Right. Like my migraines took a very long time. You know.
But you notice they were getting better, but it
Right.
wasn't like it turned on a dime, right?
Right. No, not at all. You know, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the first year. They were still quite a struggle that first year, especially, you know. But uh, they, the intensity lessened and the duration lessened, but I was still getting them relatively frequently that first year. Now, I was also in a bad car accident and was hit by a car on that year too. So confounds with the
Might have had something
experiment,
to do with it.
right? But all things considered, and I got hit by a car and didn't break my arm, so that's pretty good.
Mhm.
Just bruised it all the way through from one side to another. It'd be interesting to get another MRI done. I think once I get myself some health insurance, I might get another MRI on this arm just to see like how it's healed. So I'm kind of it could take like 6 months to a year to heal like the damage or whatever.
Yeah, like when I started, it was the arthritis going away. It was like a miracle. It's like I could feel within a week. I was like, oh my God, this is a new life, you know? And within, I don't remember exactly, but say within 2 months, like crippling arthritis was basically gone. Like I didn't have joint pain anymore, you know? But things like anxiety, they were tapering off. I could tell it was getting better, but we're talking years into it. It's still getting better. It's not gone yet, but I'm a different person. I mean, all the way back, probably. I could tell like my social anxiety was declining by like 2018 or so. Yeah, it was 2018, you know, something like that. I tell all this frequently. Like when I first started doing videos, I like didn't want to appear on camera and stuff like that. I didn't voluntarily go too many places to do social things, you know, stuff like that. And I started, and I'm, you know, I don't know if I even really have social anxiety anymore. I still kind of have that pattern of avoiding
Well,
social.
that's just because they're stupid, not because you're anxious about them.
I'm just stupid. I'm not anxious.
No, they're stupid.
Who's stupid?
The general population.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, right.
There's probably a word for that. General population stupidity.
Yeah. So I think maybe that's more annoyance than
They're just
anything.
annoying. Public's annoying. Yeah.
Although going out with you in public is always a blast. There's always some people do like to come up to you though, which is really funny. Did people come up to you also when you had social anxiety? Because people seem to I don't know if it's called opening up to you, but like homeless people, vagrants, they just love to walk up and start talking at you.
Yeah, I think that probably has something to do with different body language or something. I don't know, because I think that happens a lot more frequently now. So like in the past, like if I went to the gym back in the day before all this, when I was going to the gym, the only people I ever talked to were the older guys. I mean, older guys are like 20 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I mean, I think that just started with there was one guy that, well, there was one guy that was shockingly strong,
Hmm.
and he was the only other one that loaded up the sled like I did for leg presses, you know.
Uh-huh.
And so we used to try and do it on the same day because it took so long to find all the weights and get them on there and then unload them. You know, it was a hassle because you're walking around scavenging them from all over the place. So, and that guy I didn't even really talk to that much, but he knew some of the other guys that were kind of more like getting towards retirement or maybe retired or whatever. And then I think one by one I started talking to them, but I never talked to anybody my own age there that I didn't already know, right?
Mhm.
Which is almost never anybody else. But then now it's like at the gym, it's like people just come up and talk to me, and like you said, homeless people come up and talk to me. It's kind of weird, yeah. So,
Or they just think you're all. They all just think you're Hulk Hogan. That's what it is.
there's that too. I don't see it, but I was wearing a yellow tank top one day. Complete stranger comes all the way across the parking lot, and I hadn't even gotten out of my car. Says, "Hey, are you Hulk Hogan?" Yeah, it's funny. Well, that girl had not scary for him thought I was her dad. I was like,
right. Maybe her dad was Hulk Hogan.
I should have asked her.
Yeah,
Did not cross my mind back then, but it's a fair question these days.
Well, and the occasional male interest wanting to give you an LA handshake.
Oh, thank God. Well, thank God you brought that up. We don't want to leave that out. Yeah.
See, if you were flaming, you could be out there every night, Tom.
Maybe that's why I stay home, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Too much attention.
Get too much attention from the guys and not enough from the girls. Face purple crying.
Well, at least somebody out there thinks you're pretty.
Enjoys the humor. Yeah, I was talking to Margie the other day, and she didn't says she wasn't really getting from the videos that I had a good sense of humor and I like to laugh. It's like, how could you miss that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think well, you also are part of the TISM crew, so there you go.
Yeah,
struggle with what do you say? Affect. There you go.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's
Plus
true.
the glasses,
No, maybe I shouldn't wear the glasses. But then I want to be cool like Justin, so Yes. So let's talk about zero carb concept. Just I know this is kind of obscure, but I was talking to somebody and I like to eat shrimp, right? I eat shrimp because I like shrimp.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beginning and the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's nice that it's almost pure protein, but somebody's like, "Hey, I was reading, did you know shrimp has carbohydrate in it?" And I was like, "Yeah, there's a little bit in there. What is it like? I forget what it is. It's like 4 grams of carbohydrate per pound or something like that. I don't remember. It's a small amount, right?
Right.
And then this whole wormhole and I'm like, well, eggs have a little carbohydrate in them, right? If you eat cottage cheese or something, there's a little carbohydrate in there.
Well, any dairy product, there's a little bit of carbohydrate in there.
Dairy product, pretty
technically sugar, which is technically carbohydrate, but yeah.
Right. And it's like, and then I'm like, well, if you eat enough pork, there's some carbohydrate in there too. There's
right.
If you added up a bunch of steak, there's gonna be a couple grams of carbohydrate in there too, and then
not to mention the grams of sugar or glucose that your body converts that protein into. But
right, and there's gonna be a little bit of that. I mean, if you're not eating any carbohydrates, your body's gonna make glucose from something. Right? Could be protein, glycerol backbone. There's like 3 or 4 different ways the body synthesizes glucose from non-carbohydrate.
Now, I don't know if it was a mistake when Bart was talking, or because Bart was even talking that even a bit of fat can get converted into glucose.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Like, I feel like I totally didn't know that. So I thought Bart misspoke, but he didn't.
No.
So, yeah.
No. Yeah.
I feel like people don't talk about that enough because I was unaware.
Yeah. So everybody's just afraid that if you eat too much protein, your body's going to spontaneously make a bunch of extra glucose, right?
Right.
But just like your body can make, if you don't, if you're dry fasting or whatever, it's your body literally turns fat into water.
Right.
Your body's got to make glucose from something, right?
Right.
And as we see, lots of people can just eat meat, being fat and and muscle tissue and just do fine,
Right.
Now, dry fasting is sort of extreme. The utility of it's debatable. It helps some people. It's, depending on how long you do it, it can be dangerous, blah, 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 blah. But as we see, the body can do it, and it could do it. It's like Windows, man. There's always like 4 different ways you can do something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Take that, Apple products.
But I've yet to see anybody who's been like, on an animal based diet for a long period of time who gets any sort of significant rise in glucose or insulin from eating a high protein diet.
Right.
So I suspect some people, maybe in the beginning, less adapted, maybe they get higher glucose results and thus higher insulin, but we don't know. No, Justin's oh, it's his tax guy calling. Okay. Oh, no, it's his proctologist. He's got the results of his scope. Yeah, how dare he? So, anyways, I know some people just kind of take the concept of zero carb a little literally, a little too literally, but yeah, there's bound to be some carbohydrate in very small amounts in the meat we eat too, right? So Justin is apparently having too much fun to join us in the conversation. So I didn't know. Let's see, it's got to be. It's almost 6 o'clock here, so it's like 8 o'clock there. I didn't know proctologist called that late, but apparently the test results are important. So, anyways, maybe it was his bail bondsman, or you getting your deposit back on your bail.
Yeah. Deposit back on bail. Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. We've got 10 minutes, so there we go.
What's that?
10 minutes. I've got 10 minutes.
You've got 10 minutes. You've been warned.
Yes.
Well, we can wrap it up if you want.
Okay. But zero carb, like I always say, is a misnomer. There's actually no such thing as zero carb. Doesn't exist. Can't do it. Won't do it. Not a thing. I mean, I guess if you're fat fasting, you're zero carb, kind of. I guess that would be the absolute closest.
Well, I don't know. How do you eat pure fat? I mean, that when you're eating fat, there's still cellular tissue there that held the fat, right?
Right. Yeah.
There's collagen, and I don't know what fascia is made of. Probably some kind of collagen or whatever. But yeah, it's still even a chunk of animal fat's not pure fat.
Right.
There's nothing pure.
There's nothing pure.
There's nothing pure. We made sure of that.
So yeah, misnomer. I mean, I just think, I guess your average carnivore, I guess, our average daily intake of carbohydrates might be 10 or less, I guess, grams or something. And then I guess supposed keto would be, well, there's 100 grams, 50 grams, and under 20 grams or whatever, right? And so, anyway, the point is to not combine fat with sugar and overwhelm your cells with energy to where they have to lock the door. That is the problem.
Or your teeth start rotting.
Or your teeth start rotting. Yeah.
Or your HbA1c goes up because the high blood sugar is damaging your red blood cells.
Oh, my aunt had some news recently that so she was originally a type 2 diabetic a couple years ago, 3 years ago, on metformin, what have you, right? She changed to a low carb diet, and her doctor, she just went back for tests, and her doctor said she's not even pre-diabetic anymore, according to her HbA1c. So that's awesome work. That's really great. Even though this year she kind of messed around a little too much, in my opinion. But hey, that's really awesome for her, because her father lost his leg due to diabetes.
Messed around. It was she
having some pizza, having
Oh,
some French fries.
I thought
Yeah.
maybe she's having an affair with a gingerbread man or something.
No.
So, anyways, yeah. Just to go down that rabbit hole, so we know sugar wrecks your teeth. We know it wrecks your red blood cells, and it's highly suspect when it comes to the lining of your arteries. So,
Right.
just keep that blood sugar low and steady, folks.
Mm-hmm. Go low and slow. I don't know.
So, shall we put a fork in this one since you're on a time constraint, my friend?
Yeah, let's put a fork in it.
Well, good seeing everybody. Thanks for coming. Sly, Miss Patricia, Margie, Raymond was here. Who else was here? We haven't seen ADS in a while.
I think we scared him off with our not Poofa talk. I think he's like, I'm out.
Non-Poofa talk?
Yeah.
We don't like Poofas.
Yeah, but we don't believe you'll get sick from eating grass-fed or non-grass-fed meats and chickens.
Alrighty, gotcha.
But ADS, if you'd like to discuss it further, of course.
Yeah, come on and let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
All right, well, I guess it's nighty night for real. Have a great night, Raymond, Sly, Miss Patricia, Margie, and the rest. No Vanessa tonight. Huh.
Yeah, Vanessa.
Next time. So until next time, eat some meat.
Feel better.
And whatever you do,
Eat some meat.
Don't
Don't fall down the carb hole. I messed it up in like a completely different way.
Don't fall down the Dr. Salad dinosaur hole. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thanks for watching.